don't make sense what the suffering was for. Cause I got out my head and I got in my bag. No time to be crying, there's money to make. I'll do what I gotta, whatever it takes. Cause I'm pushing myself to be one of the great. And my time is right now.
All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Extreme Lifestyle Living Podcast. Now, today's episode is going to be entirely on the anchors in your life and the things that are holding you back. And what I mean by this is that we're going to be diving deep into the aspects of your life that keep you anchored in one place, preventing you from reaching your full fucking potential. Now, we're going to be exploring 3 categories of this topic in terms of anchors in your life. And we're going to start off with identifying what your anchors are in your life. What are the things that are keeping you grounded into your position in your life that you're not happy with? What are the things that are holding you back? Number 2 is we're going to understand and talk about the impact of these anchors on your life if you don't take action to make change in these areas of your life to see the growth, the development, and the success that you deserve. And third and lastly, of course, with every episode is that we're going to finish off with some actionable takeaways so you as a listener or you as a viewer can take these into your day-to-day life today and spark change today. And as always, I hope you have a pen and paper and are something to write with because it's going to be another banger of an episode, and let's jump right into it. So first, when it comes to knowing where your anchors are in your life, you have to identify your personal anchors and know what they are first and foremost. And now there's a ton of different anchors that could be holding you back in your life. So we're going to talk about 5 common anchors that are amongst all of us. We all have dealt with these, either are currently dealing with these right now or have dealt with these in the past on some degree or some level. And let's just talk about the 5 of them. Number 1 is self-limiting beliefs. We all have self-limiting beliefs that are holding us back and literally hindering our success. Number 2, negative self-talk. We are all at some point in our life our worst critic, being the hardest on ourselves, you know? Number 3 is fear of failure. You're right. No one wants to take risks that isn't going to guarantee a certain outcome, or, you're going to fear of failure in the terms of looking like an idiot or feeling stupid. Number 4, any and every unfulfilling routine and or toxic relationship in your life that does not serve you. These are just negative habits, negative routines, negative people or relationships that are in your life that just don't serve you, but we'll talk about embracing those and challenging those as well. And last but not least, the 5th one is any self-doubt that you experience that holds you back. These are 5 concrete anchors in your life that all of us have experienced at some point in our life or are currently experiencing them. And that's why we're going to talk about them. We're going to break them down of the importance of making acknowledgement of these. And then we're going to give you some actionable items to take away to make some movements on these 5 anchors in your life today. So first, we got to understand what these anchors are or how they look in your life. So all of these are anchors in your life that don't serve you, right? That's the main idea of what we're talking about. Anchors, I want you to understand, is literally like a boat. It's an anchor in a boat to keep the boat in the water where it has to stay. So these are anchors in your life that are keeping you in the position that you're in and holding you from literally creating the best life that you deserve. You know what I mean? So the first step with understanding these anchors is understanding what they're doing to your life. So you understand the impact of them. So let's start off with all 5 of them. We're going to break them down and give you examples of each of them. So self-limiting beliefs and self-doubt lower your self-esteem and lower your confidence. These are anchors that program you to operate at a low frequency and hold yourself at a low self-value. That's why it's so important to understand, are you self-limiting your beliefs? Are you having self-doubt? Are you lowering your self-esteem? Are you lowering your self-confidence with this one anchor in your life by having a limited belief system on what you think you're capable in your life? Because this is an anchor that if you do not acknowledge it and do not know how to make change with this, it's going to make you operate and hold yourself at a low frequency, low value, and you're not going to really ultimately have the life that you deserve because you're not going to believe you deserve it. I don't know if you listened to the last podcast episode, but it's a scarcity mindset versus an abundant mindset. You're limiting your own potential because you doubt yourself. So you're lowering your own frequency, your own confidence, your own self-esteem, your own value in the whole 9 yards. Number 2 is negative self-talk. And if you do not understand how your negative self-talk affects you, like paying attention to internal dialogue, how do you speak to yourself? How do you hold yourself in your own mindset? Are you shit-talking yourself? Are you being critical? Are you just self-criticizing every movement that you're doing? Because negative self-talk is one of those things that if you do not acknowledge it or become aware of your internal dialogue, it's going to degrade you beyond comprehension. And ultimately, if it becomes bad enough, you're going to have severe depression and all kinds of other sorts of mental health adversities, honestly, because if you're talking to yourself in a negative manner constantly around the clock, 24 hours a day, what is this going to do for your mental health after 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? What about the fucking 10, 15 years a lot of you guys have been doing this, right? So that's why I use the verbiage, it's going to degrade you beyond comprehension, because a lot of us don't even understand how detrimental our mental health is solely based on how we fucking talk to ourselves. Third is fear of failure. What fear of failure does is it locks you in this cage, it restricts you from taking any risk in your life, which it ultimately means you're not taking advantage of any opportunity that's coming up into your life, whether it's in your financial career, whether it's in your employment career, whatever avenue of your life, if you're scared of taking that risk, then that ultimately means you're not going to seize any opportunity that's going to come your way and fulfill that avenue of your life of what you want to do. You're never really going to truly test yourself and see what kind of mold you can create. You're never going to see where your potential is created into because you're literally fearing of the failure. You're constantly in this battle in your mind thinking that you can't take this risk or you can't do this because of fear of failure or fear of looking stupid or just uneducated or whatever the fuck it is you have that you're going to connect the dots for your own self if this resonates with you. But all this is going to do is ultimately keep you in a cage, and literally you're never really going to test yourself and find out what your true potential looks like. Number 4, unfulfilling routines and shitty relationships. When it comes to unfulfilling routines and shitty relationships and having these avenues of your life that literally, honestly, at some point become a form of self-sabotage once you acknowledge that you have a shitty routine or shitty relationship in your life, it literally becomes a form of self-sabotage once you acknowledge it. But if you don't take action to make change with these anchors, in terms of like the avenues of like unfulfilling routines and shitty relationships and things like this, like your life is going to get a whole different level of avenue of self-degrading and destroying lifestyle. Like you have to understand that if you're caught up in these unfulfilling routines and with these shitty relationships that every single day take time away from you to put into time into whatever avenues these are, like unfulfilling routines could be literally like waking up late when you shouldn't be, eating junk food when you shouldn't be, skipping the gym when you shouldn't be. Like any routine when it comes to like, drug addictions or any other addictions that you have, whether it's smoking cigarettes, smoking weed, drinking, anything that literally that does not fulfill who you are as a person or who you want to become is a disservice to you. And if you don't take action on these and make change and you're aware of these, then that's why it's become self-sabotage. And if you don't take advantage of making these changes, you're going to create a self-degrading and self-destroying lifestyle. And that's why I'm trying to make sure you understand the severity of the impacts that these cause on your life, because same with shitty relationships, right? Like how many of us have been in a relationship for a few weeks, few months, few years, longer than we should have been, just because we don't know how to embrace it or make those changes, but we've acknowledged we don't want to be in them. We've acknowledged that they're not fulfilling. We've acknowledged they take away from us. We acknowledge that we're starting to become self-degrading and just self-destructive lifestyle because we just simply won't make changes in these areas. And with all of these different types of anchors in your life, you have to understand the impact on each and every single one of them and where it's important for you personally, because some of them may resonate with you. Maybe one or two hits hard for home. Maybe some of them, maybe they all hit hard. Maybe they all resonate with you, But the biggest thing is that's why it's so important to understand the impact that these anchors have on your life, because us as humans, we're ignorant to our own day-to-day lifestyle. We're very conditioned to just accept things as they come. And that's in a scarcity mindset. That's when you get comfortable. That's when you have all kinds of mental health issues, right? But you need to understand the severity of these impacts on your life, because that's why it's important that you acknowledge them and create a plan and a system to understand where these are holding you back. Because you really got to understand that if you don't acknowledge them and don't make change in these anchors in your life, there's going to be so many areas of your life that are going to take a hit, and you're going to create a massive sense of just feeling stuck, or you're going to constantly feel like you're spinning your fucking tires. And ultimately, you're going to feel like you're in a box, claustrophobic, feeling like the walls of life are just caving in on you, right? And literally, you're going to feel like you're just suffocating all the fucking time. You're going to feel like you're in water, drowning all the time, because you're just stuck in these negative routines with these negative, unfulfilling, shitty relationships with all these different anchors in your own mindset that just ultimately don't serve you. So as always, I can always go on a rant about these types of things all the time, because like I always say, these small, subtle shifts that you make in your perspective, whether it's through your anchors in your life, any of them, all 5 of them we're talking about, just one that resonates the most, is that you make this small, subtle shift. You have to understand that it moves fucking mountains, because you have to understand what anchor is truly holding you back. What anchor is causing you the most destruction? Because once you isolate it, it's no different than anything else in your life when you're trying to figure out how to, problem solve or get ahead in your life or figure out the next level of your life that you got to get into. You got to isolate it to understand which area of my life has the biggest, strongest, most destructive anchor. And then you got to get into a position to acknowledge it fully embrace it, fully understand and fully know what the fuck's going on. Number 2 is to create a plan to release it. So you got to, say prime example, we're going to give some examples in a minute, but you got to find a plan to create to release it. And then the third part of that is that you got to commit to it relentlessly to change the entire direction of your life, And the best way to acknowledge any anchor in your life is to become self-aware understand your daily habits. How are you operating on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis? Are you short-tempered? Are you jolly? Are you tired? Are you exhausted? Are you excited? What and where are the areas of your life that are causing you resistance? And you become emotional, or you become self-aware and understand your patterns, because you got to understand, what emotions are you experiencing on a day-to-day basis? What emotions are arising throughout your life where you feel like you can't handle them, you know? And this is where we talk about how you can find your potential anchors and create a plan to get rid of them and grow and develop in the areas of your life that you have been craving to grow for quite some time. Because once you acknowledge them, the next step is what you have to do, and that's create a plan. And then after you create the plan, you got to fucking commit to it relentlessly. So let's talk about how you can acknowledge them, get rid of them, and grow. So my personal favorite way to reflect on any potential anchors that I have in my life and becoming self-aware of where my areas of opportunities are to grow and develop and pivot is journaling. You know, like, I'm a big advocate for journaling. And it's not about journaling, sitting in a corner and having a book and writing on it and then meditating and whatever the fuck you have as in terms of your terminology or your ideology of what you think this looks like. Journaling is literally for you to reflect on your recurring thoughts, your self-doubts, and your fears that are holding you back. And then you got to ask yourself a bunch of questions to have an internal dialogue with yourself. And I can go on so many different rants of how this not only helps your negative self-talk, but helps your positivity, your self-doubt, your self-esteem, your self-confidence, everything. But we're talking about primarily from becoming a self-aware, you know? So a journaling routine or exercise where you ask yourself questions, reread those questions or the answers, that you put down for these questions. This is how you become self-aware of exactly what area of your life needs the most fucking help. And here's 3 simple fucking questions that you can ask yourself in your next journal routine to find out what anchor is holding you back. One is, what thoughts tend to make you feel self-doubt? What thoughts make you feel like you don't trust your capabilities or your abilities in terms of growth? You know, when you feel self-doubt the most. And if you're being honest, your body's going to tell you, you know, maybe this time at work I didn't speak up, or, you know, in this relationship I didn't say something, or whatever it may be. You're going to have a fucking answer, and it's up to you to embrace it and write it down. Number 2, ask yourself, are there patterns in my behavior that keep me stuck in my comfort zone? Prime example is, everyone wants to start the gym. Everyone wants to lose body fat, gain muscle, do whatever it is. They want to look in the mirror and be absolutely fucking thrilled with what they see. But not everybody is willing to embrace their fucking comfort zone, to get out of it, to get into a position that they want to get in their life, you know? But by asking yourself these questions, what patterns do I notice with my behavior keep me stuck? And again, once you become habitual with these, once you understand the value of what these are going to do, and you understand they're going to move mountains, you're going to hold these questions dear and close to your heart and stay committed. If you do this once, you're not going to fucking see anything. If you do this twice, you might feel something. But this here is about committing relentlessly to asking yourself these questions and embracing the true answers on the other side of these questions and learning from them. Third, do I have relationships in my life that drain my energy instead of uplift me? This is going to break a lot of your guys' mentalities, because you guys got to ask yourself, is your mother's relationship with where you want to take your life worth it? Is your relationship with your father worth it? Is a relationship with the lady or the man or the partner or whoever you're with for the last 5 to 10 years, is it fucking worth it? And this is where it literally becomes really crazy in terms of mind rattling, but also very exciting, because I'm a firm believer that you don't owe anything to anybody in this world unless there's like a mutual beneficial respect there amongst the two of you. You know, obviously, say you have a very, very, very loving, caring, nurturing family that takes care of you. You know, they're not biased, not influencing you to make certain decisions, but they support you with everything. You can't sit here and arrogantly be an asshole and be like, these guys are taking away from me, da 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 da. What I'm talking about is, do you have negative people that are anchoring you down, that are always telling you that you can't do the next step? Do you have relationships that are just draining your energy all day, where it's just depression, low energy, low frequency, and you just feel like you're spinning your tires constantly trying to spark quote unquote change or some type of positive avenue in your relationship, and just doesn't go nowhere? This is an anchor that you just need to honestly be honest with your fucking self. And by journaling and reflecting and having these conversations with yourself, you're going to be able to pinpoint every single relationship down to the fucking T of who you respect and who you don't respect. And this is why I'm saying, like, the 3 levels of it is acknowledging it, finding the plan, and then committing to it. And this is a small plan that you could do every single fucking day. It's a journal routine exercise, asking yourself these 3 simple fucking questions to ultimately change your fucking life forever. On top of journaling, some more actionable advice to release these anchors is, and you can do this in your journal routine, or you can just become more consciously aware of it, but you have to reframe your mind and relay that foundation now with positive affirmations. So what I mean by this is, reframing is you're literally restructuring, reformatting, reanalyzing the way you view the world. So by reframing, you first have to become aware of what you need to reframe. And I'm going to give you a few examples, but Relaying it down with a positive affirmation simply means you're taking the bullshit out of your life and you're going to relay it down with something that's positive that's going to relay some solid foundation to build a good life off of. So two simple examples are, reframe that shitty negative self-talk from fuck, I'm not good enough or I'm not worth it to make this change to a positive affirmation saying I'm more than fucking capable of doing this. I'm worthy of the success I seek. Let's go. Another simple one is, from a reframing standpoint, you want to look at your negative self-talk and go, and you notice your internal dialogue. You're saying, I'm afraid of failing, fear of failure, and I'm going to look stupid if I don't do as well as I think I should do. Reframe that mindset to a positive affirmation, a positive, abundant mindset, and say, there's no fucking thing. There's no such thing as failure, only learning and gaining that experience, and that's relaying that foundation down with a positive affirmation. So you now start operating for more of a higher frequency, more of abundant mindset. And this is how you start to make those small pivots and changes on a daily basis for you to gain that wealth in terms of your success that you're looking for with your mindset. And that's why I said, even with the journal routine, like you can't sit back one day and be like, oh, I caught myself saying I was a piece of shit. So want to know what? Like, I'm not a piece of shit today. And the next day you're going to wake up and think it's all great. Like, that's not how it works. That's why the third avenue of changing your life with these is so fucking relentless, is you have to commit to them relentlessly until you convince your mind to switch into the lane that you need to operate from, right? And that's why I love that quote when it comes to confidence, right? Like, you're not confident. You just got to wake up one day, decide to be confident, and you show up every day until you're fucking confident. That's the same principle with getting rid of anchors in your life and upgrading your life. Is like, you got to first acknowledge it, whatever area of your life that you want to grow and develop and see success in. You got to first acknowledge that you're not where you want to be at. And the second thing is you got to embrace the fucking emotions that come with that and create the plan around those emotions to bridge those gaps, to make them into opportunities to get your life into a successful avenue. And then the third thing, which is so fucking important, is stay fucking committed. This doesn't change overnight. And this is why I love using an analogy when I work with all my clients that are on like massive fat loss journeys, is that, like, let's say you're 30 years old, right? Like, I'm 28, I'm turning 29 this year. So I'm rising to 30 years old. And a lot of people see me, they see me in low body fat percentage. They see me in great shape and all these different things. And it's a lot of assumptions. Oh, you played sports, or you've been like this your whole life, or this, that, this. It's like, fuck no. Oh, you got good genetics. Fuck no. I don't got good genetics. I fucking work my fucking ass off to get to the position that I'm in. And you have to understand it's time under tension for everything in your life. How much time have you invested into upgrading your life versus how much time have you invested into ruining your life? So when it comes to fat loss journeys and people that need to lose 20, 30, 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds or make these crazy lifestyle changes, you're 30 years old, you've been in a program for 3 or 4 months, and you think those 2 to 3 or 4 months are going to compensate for 25 fucking years of a one-tracked mind. You think that 3 to 4 months is going to change the trajectory of a 20, 30-year brain pattern, thought patterns, thought-provoking ways you've been operating your life at, right? So, and I'm not denying the success we could see in 3 or 4 months, but I need you to understand that when it comes to mental health and it comes to any of your fitness goals or anything like this, you got to understand how long have I been in a negative routine and how long have I been in a positive routine? Because that subtle shift in understanding the value in embracing how heavy these burdens may be as anchors and then committing to them, that's the subtle difference here. Because you can't stay here and be like, I'm going to do one journal routine this week and I'm going to fucking change my life. I'm going to pay attention to my negative self-talk. I'm going to reframe it and I'm going to put it into a positive affirmation and I'm going to change my life. It's not that simple. At hindsight, it is. But in the actual in-depth response to changing your life and what it is, it's a relentless commitment and your willingness to fucking embrace these things. Now, when you're making any of these changes in your life, getting rid of any of these anchors or any positive change in your life or whatever it may be, when you're doing anything in terms of taking your life from one angle of it to another angle in a more of a positive, abundant, and more of a successful way, you need to take small steps. And that's why I'm trying to break it down to such a level of understanding so you can understand the value of it. It's not so much about making everything perfect and, and all these different things. It's just about staying committed and doing it more often than you're not. So you have to take small, gradual steps to overcome your anchor. You can't expect to see success with 1 week of journaling. You can't expect to see success with 1 week of being acknowledgement, or you can't expect to see a bunch of success with 1 week of acknowledging your negative self-talk and your patterns, You need to break down your anchors into smaller, more manageable tasks. And we're going to break this down in a little bit in a second with a couple examples. But you got to understand, the more weight, in terms of what I mean by weight, the more emotional response you get from this anchor, right? Let's say, a prime example, let's say you're in a relationship, You've been in a relationship for 15 years. I'm going to say that 15 years. I have some people that I work with that have been in relationships for 15 to 20 years. They say they're 35, 40 years old. They've been married since 25. They've been with them since they're 15. Long story short, like let's say you're with somebody for 15 years and they're an anchor in your life and you're starting to gain the confidence within yourself to embrace that this relationship no longer serves you. The weight of 15 years of your life, quote unquote, being thrown down the drain because you're willing to embrace another level of life, that's a lot of fucking weight. That's a huge fucking burden. That's a lot of baggage you need to get through. So you can't expect that journey to be a point A to point B. You may have kids together. If you're married, you're legally bound to each other. What if you guys have a house together, financial stuff together? You can't say, okay, I'm done with this relationship. This is where my life's going to go. You can in a simple sense, but you got to break that down into smaller, more manageable tasks. You can't be like, divorce, next week I'm buying a condo and I'm out. Maybe you can, and maybe you're relentless like that, and maybe you don't have you can control your emotional state that way and financial stability, the whole 9 yards that way. But you need to understand that's going to be more of a maybe 6 months to a year and a half worth of manageable small steps to retract yourself out of this relationship in a healthy manner, pivot, change, grow, and find things that serve you. Another one is like fear of speaking up. That's a massive anchor with a lot of people. I used to suffer with that as well. And it's like a small step is like, instead of sitting there and like, beating yourself up and being like, I don't speak up in relationships. I don't speak up and at work. I don't ever speak up. It's like, pick one area of your life. Next time you're at work and you know the answer to the question that, maybe the management team's talking about, fucking raise your hand, speak up. Same thing with that class. We're all guilty of it. You're in class. The teacher says, anyone know this answer? You think about it, you're like, well, fuck, man. Like, I know that answer, but there's no way I know it that quick, And then you don't raise your hand, right? So it's like in small instances like that, it's like start raising the waterline like that. It doesn't have to be reinventing the wheel and, sparking this massive fucking change overnight, but it's about breaking the barriers and having these small steps to gradually get to the level of life that you want. In another fucking crazy, I love this example, is like, trying something new or challenging or intimidating in your life, Like so many of us sit back in our boxes and we're like have this high expectations of where we think our life should be. And especially with social media and where life's at, like it's very easy to get caught into these whirlwinds of like, oh shit, our life should be here. Our life should be over there. Our life should be here. And it's like, the biggest thing with that is like, you just got to understand that same thing with that. Try a smaller version of whatever it is that you're trying to get out of your life, baby step your way to the big leagues, if you want to say. And a prime example of this is with fitness goals, right? So many people come out of the gate thinking they got to do 3+ hour workouts, 6-7 days a week in the gym, or they're just getting off the couch and like, I got to do a Spartan race or I got to compete in CrossFit. And it's like, what are you fucking doing? You've never worked out a day in your life, or you haven't been in the gym for the last 3 or 4 years. And it's like, you're literally setting yourself up for failure with this mindset, with this ideology that you have to have these high expectations. And that's when it's important to take smaller steps to baby step your way into it. Like myself personally, I'm doing a bodybuilding show next May. I haven't done a show in 5 to 6 years. I'm getting ready for it now, because if I was to just jump into a 3 to 6 month long prep right now, I'm not going to be prepared. You know what I mean? I got to do this smaller incremental steps so I can gain the confidence, gain the clarity, gain the vision, and gain the momentum that I truly deserve without setting myself up for failure, having my negative self-talk go up and being like, oh, my expectations are too high and I'm a fucking piece of shit. I'm a failure for doing this. It's like, I have these small incremental steps, no different than you with your fitness goals, no different than you speaking up, or no different than you with your relationships. It all starts with small steps, because those are so much easier to compound your wins over, right? And that's why we're talking about getting the small wins and the small steps, is so you can compound your confidence over time, building them up with the smaller wins to eventually get to the top level that you're fucking looking for. Now, as you know, I could go on for fucking ever about these type of topics, especially like when it comes to anything mental health. So I'm going to slowly stop it off here. And I just want to say that the main thing that I want you to have is, to know about what anchors are, what potential anchors in your life could be holding you back. And I wanted to talk about not only some subtle perspective shifts and like takeaways for you to make change in your life today, but I also wanted you to understand the impact that these anchors have on your life if you straight up just don't make any change or acknowledge them and just decide to ignore them. Because life truly can be as beautiful as you want it to be. Life can truly be as abundant, full of love, full of joy, full of every fucking positive emotion that you've ever dreamed of imaginable. But you have to understand where you're not getting that success at. And you've got to understand the impact that what's stopping your success. You got to understand the impact of what it is. And when I talk about these anchors, we're not talking about reinventing the wheel here. We're not talking about changing your fucking life with drastic fucking, like, let's say surgery. We're not saying to go into a fucking medical field and get surgery on your brain to remove negative and add positive. We're talking about small, subtle shifts that you can compound confidence over with over with over time to truly get the life that you fucking deserve. And there you have it. That's today's episode on anchors in your life. I really, really hope I sparked a fucking fire within you to identify and release those limitations that you have that's holding you back, whatever your anchors are. So if you do have any question, concerns about anchors that are maybe fucking you up, let me know. I really would love to talk about them. But I really do hope that at least one of these anchors has resonated with you a ton, and you have learned something through this episode to really release that anchor and really grow in the area that you want. Because it's true when I say you deserve the abundant future you fucking seek. So other than that, have a blessed fucking week. I appreciate you all. Let's fucking go.
Who's on my side, I don't know anymore. Cause it's more than a battle, we going to war. And losing again, I just cannot afford. I think it's my time to go even the score. What you see on the surface attached to my core. I'm stacking my paper, but feeling for more. One hell of a ride, but I'm staying on board. And now it makes sense what the suffering was for. Cause I got out my head and I got in my bag. No time to be crying.